So the M4 was work in progress. I think I always start to think about next generations pretty much soon after like current generations, just because I always have like an idea what could be improved. It takes a couple of years to get through the cycles and get the final product, but that's pretty much like product in making was since we released the third generation. So yeah, it's just a constant ongoing process of improvement and understanding more about like what is the most efficient technique for freediving. So the top three highlights of the fourth generation of Monofin is the blade changes, and the blade like changes shape, and the layering to accommodate the new idea behind the kicking, which I'll explain later. But it's like different shape of the blade and layering, and different angle of the foot pocket. It's like steeper angle, and positioning of the foot pocket is also a little bit different. It's a bit outside and shifted to accommodate the like less effort, like ankle-driven technique with a bit more emphasis on the back kick. So those are three. So M4 is better than M3 in terms of low effort technique. So M3 was designed for more traditional kicking, like for a bit more effort on the front kick. Back kick is there, of course, as well. It requires a bit more effort to push back and to have a good flexibility of the ankles, which is always a good thing to develop, like a proper flexibility of the ankles. M4 allows to have a stronger back kick and less effort on the front kick. So it's basically a bit more forgiving on the technique and a bit more forgiving on the flexibility as well. It allows for more like control for the pro athletes as well, of course, but with a bit of less experience, like M4 is a bit more forgiving in terms of technique. And it's focus shifts to the ankles, feet, and that allows for less amplitude, less effort swimming. So M4 blade shape is slightly different from the third generation. In the fourth generation, the width is same. It's two widths, like larger size and smaller size of the blade, but the shape is a bit more slim because the blade gets longer, and their main working like area of the blade is now shifted a bit more towards the tip. So it's like here we allowed it to be more narrow next to the foot pockets. In the third generation, it's a bit wider next to the foot pockets, and there's a difference just like with the focus where the most of the push is. So here it's like a bit further away from the foot pockets. So like here we did it a bit more slim, and then overall it all resulted in like I think also in a changes of their proportions, which I like a lot. Like it looks awesome. The foot pocket got some changes. The first was angle, and here the angle is bigger. It's 30 degrees, and we can actually customize it with different angles. Like if there is a need for bigger angle, 35, or small angle, 25, even 20, and even 40 if there is like no flexibility in the ankle at all. We can do this. So like for the standard angle, we suggest 30. And there some parts to position the foot pocket differently also changed, but all the changes are external out of the like foot space. So the foot space is same as before, as comfortable, and the arch is still there, arch support is still there to help the foot. So a bigger angle on M4 allows for more of the back kick and a bit lighter of the front kick. And then it's personal preference. In general, it's needed for the blade that we made, for soft versions of the blade, for stiffer versions of the blade. If the personal preference is to have a more effort on the front kick, then the angle can be smaller, and we do that. Most of the blades that we do are soft, sometimes medium, and for those blades, this angle works the best. But of course, if you need a bit more of fine-tuning, just tell us your technique, like show us with the videos, and so for harder blades, it may be like a smaller angle might be better if like there's a lot of strength in the thighs and like the front kick is strong. But in general, this angle is great for the ankle-driven technique, for the bit of more calves engagement and all that. So fiberglass versus carbon, that's always like a good question. Fiberglass is a balance between performance and price and durability as well. And carbon is snappier, is like more explosive. Like when you bend it, it's like gets back faster. So performance-wise, carbon is important for top athletes, for like top performance. But in general, it's a personal choice. Like carbon have advantage over fiberglass, but it requires a bit more like extra care. Fiberglass have different colors. That's also cool. Like maybe if like pink is your color or like blue, then it's fiberglass. Just to demonstrate the difference between fiberglass and carbon, like my all previous world records were with Fiberglass Monofin 130, and recent world record 131 was done with the carbon monofin. But at the same time, like I could use both. Of course, carbon makes it a bit easier and lighter, but fiberglass have some. Like our fiberglass that we do with the like very high pressure is very responsive. So like I think it's just like if it's extra percents, if they are very important, then carbon is the choice. But overall, like fiberglass covers it all. So the weight of the monofin is nice to have a like lighter monofin for traveling purposes, of course. It's easier to carry it on, and in the water, it's like you feel it a bit less because usually monofins are neutral or buoyant. The blade itself, so the carbon blade is a bit lighter than fiberglass blade, but for fin swimmers, for high frequency carbon blade helps because it's less weight. But for freedivers with like less of frequency, it's less of an importance. The weight of the blade is less, like creates less effort to like push it faster. So I think in general, yeah, less weight is always good, but it's not that critical overall. For the blades, we have different stiffnesses, and stiffness allows to find the blade which is best for your technique. Weight, like strong or less strong, like legs, torso, ankles. In general, the most popular stiffnesses are soft, medium soft. But then, if there is a desire to have a bit of more speed, the legs are strong. For other purpose, like maybe it's just a preference. Like maybe you like to go faster. Then medium hard, or even hard will be the choice. So like it's just like to be able to find the blade which gives you the most like joy. And then sometimes it takes a bit of time to progress through different stiffnesses, like starting from something like soft to medium soft, and then some years later, with more training, more strength, switching to different stiffnesses. For example, my monofin usually is soft, and it's a full size soft. We have two sizes, soft 1 and soft 2, and mine is soft 2. But as well, when I go for competitions, I usually have two stiffnesses with me, and it's always soft, and sometimes the second one is medium or medium soft. And it's just like if I feel like this at these competitions or events, I want a bit more speed, a bit more like power, then I can switch to the harder one. Or if I have more strength. But if I feel like I don't want that, then I always have soft as a like primer version. We have two sizes for the blade, and we can do more with custom request. Actually, like maybe for some like very small freedivers, we can do even a smaller blade. But in general, two sizes cover most of the cases. And there's full size and a slightly reduced size for freedivers with just different proportions. Like it's not as easy to push through a full-size blade for like a smaller, shorter freediver. So like they need a smaller blade just not to have less, like reasonable amount of effort and to maintain needed frequency, because large blade would require just too much power and like the frequency will be not the same. Like so, it's just adjusting to the proportions. So you can see double stripe design in a lot of our products, monofin, bifins, like straight stripes on the bags, and two stripes they come from our logo icon, which is double M, and two stripes actually continue this idea of like a bigger stripe and smaller stripe, so it's a simplified icon, like straightened icon, and that's our like signature design for already a couple of years. And coming back to the history of icon, the double M icon, it's like looks like a tail, but also represents letter M, so it's a Molchanov, and the bigger M was designed to represent my mom, and smaller M represented me, so it's like that's why it's Molchanovs as a family. Comparing durability of fiberglass blade versus carbon blade, in general fiberglass is more durable, just because usually it's small layers, and because carbon blade is usually thinner, it's just more fragile. That's why it's like very important to care of it. And fiberglass, they're just thicker. They might be damaged if something heavy will be dropped on them. Like it's also important to care of fiberglass blades, but they're carbon more because it's thinner. And because it's such a thin blade, one carbon layer gives more stiffness compared to fiberglass. So it's most fragile in the area where it bends the most. So sometimes the tips can be damaged because tips are the thinnest ones. So if the tip is very thin, if you bump it into something, then there could be a crack, which later on can continue. And then with carbon, the tricky part is like sometimes when I have a damage onto the blade, something heavy dropped or something happened, the crack or micro crack will be developed over some period of time. So it's very hard to find a moment when we actually broke it, because it could take a couple of weeks or a week or some time for the crack to develop and like actually break at some point. So just important to take care of the fins always. But we need to track back to understand when was the moment when it got the hit. For the carbon, again, besides the tips in our fins are reinforced, and there is a thicker layer of carbon at the very, very tip against bumping into something. But also there is a space right next after the foot pockets where it's a lot of energy, a lot of bending happens at the area around next to the foot pockets, and then there it's very important to design the layering properly, so there is no improper bending, like spoon-like effect, which we solved in this model completely. So it's very, very straight, so there is no tensions in this area after the foot pockets. So that's those two areas. Again, it's the tip and it's the area next to the foot pockets, and with a very, very straight work of the blade, it's much less chances it will be damaged. Covering customization. So M4 have more customization features than previous generation, third one. Here we can play with angle, and we can play with a lot of things in their size of the foot pocket and width, length, stiffness of the foot pocket as well. So it can be thicker rubber or thinner rubber on top of the foot, and it can be different type of arch support. It can be a higher arch support or lower, just for the feet to feel complete support inside of the foot pocket. Positioning of the foot pocket allows us to also adjust the blade for different type of techniques. So for standard angle 30 degrees, standard blade, it's ankle driven techniques. But if there is a preference for a bit of more power for the front kick, the blade can be stiffer. The size of the blade can be different as well, but the blade can be stiffer, and the foot pocket can be shifted to get more power for the front kick. So there's all these things, a lot of things to adjust in the foot pocket, in the position of the foot pocket, angle, and the blade itself. Well, for me, the favorite accent color would be gold, I think, just because it matches my wetsuit. But I think I liked a lot the blue blade with the black accent color as well. I just gotta get a blue wetsuit for this, just to match the colors. Okay, if the purpose is fun diving with a full-size monofin, I would suggest soft to medium soft blade, and depending on the body composition, full size or smaller size, and the comfortable fit. There's no need for a competition fit. That's another feature we have, where the fit of the foot pocket can be tighter or more comfortable. So it's a comfortable fit. Maybe even for fun diving, maybe a little bit of space for the socks as well, if needed, if it's a long time in the monofin. If you need a monofin for speed swimming, even disciplines in freediving that require speed, like 16x50s or 8x50, those disciplines require a stiffer blade, and it's hard. Usually it's already hard, and then it's extra hard. It's a hard blade, depending on the weight again and body composition. Maybe sometimes it can be medium hard, but most likely hard, full size, and foot pockets would be stiffer, so there is extra stiffness of the rubber of the foot pocket and extra small size. So usually for the speed swimming, it's very, very important for the foot to be tight inside of the foot pocket. So for speed, it's a very, very tight fit. Sometimes it's 3-4 sizes less. So for example, if my European size is 43, then the speed swimming monofin will be size 39, 38 even sometimes. That'll be the best for the control of the blade at high speed. And then for speed, it's important to realize which part of the kick is the most important. So there's a bit more fine-tuning for the speed swimming than for freedivers, I would say, because it's because of the need to generate maximum power, and sometimes it's more for the front kick. And if it's for the front kick, then there's a bit of shift for the foot pocket happens, and maybe less angle as well. So for the speed maybe from 30 to 25 could be ideal, but it depends on the flexibility of the ankle. So I think for the speed is more adjustment, and it's very important to have a conversation and exchange what is important.
Click the link for measuring guide and just to see all the colors and all the sizes on the website.